Greetings and salutations, and no, it's not Friday, it's Wednesday. And this is going to be a Q&A with all the questions that were asked just in the last, since we did the last Fundamental Friday. I've got a case of half-heimers. I remember half of what I'm supposed to forget, or forget half of what I'm supposed to remember. I don't know. Okay, first off, and you talk about Murphy sitting back in the corner going, huh. Young man asked the question, do I wash my parts before I paint them? In other words, the whole kit. Now, generally speaking, I do not. Okay, the body is a different story. There were two instances. One was on a Mobius kit. Great kit, built it, but it had some mold release on it. I picked up on it when I painted the radiator shroud, and all of a sudden I saw the little dots show up, and I'm like, stripped it, sanded it, soaked the parts, everything was copacetic. Now I think my little Italian buddy from South Carolina went, young man asked this question, and Michael brought it up, and I ran into it with the new Grumpy Vega, with the firewall. Shot it with semi-gloss black, everything's copacetic, 3 fish eyes. So here's my suggestion. Take with these new kits and this new plastic. I have not suffered this malady with Revell thus far. I don't think I'm going to run into it. However, with the AMT kit, I did. So here's my suggestion. Take your parts trees, take I don't know, put a nice dollop of Dawn dish detergent. Parts are on there, take a soft toothbrush, scrub them up, rinse them thoroughly, set them off to dry. This way you avoid it. Okay, that was the first one, and like I said, I think Mikey did this because when I shot that firewall, it was like ding, ding, ding. Okay, this might be what we're up against. It depends on who's doing the manufacturing, the process, the whole 9 yards. But if you got mold release on the parts, they are not going to take the paint properly. Okay, that's the first thing. Second question was brought up to me about the Molotow Pens. In my opinion, they will never, ever, ever come close to replacing the look of bare metal foil. They do have their place when you want to touch up, where the manufacturer has the bumper and sprue on the center of the bumper, the end of the bumper. Cut it carefully, you can touch that in, it does the job. Overall, for doing an entire body with it, it's ink. It's not going to withstand handling, let's put it that way. Once again, my opinion, if you choose to go that route, fine. But I'm just mentioning the pitfalls and why I would not use it. Great for doing interiors if you want to touch up on a door handle or a window crank. It's good. By the way, one thing that I did learn about them, even though I don't use them, when you store them, you're supposed to store them with the tip up. Otherwise it'll dry up. Another thing that's been occurring that I've read is the fact that if it sits and you don't use it for a while, young man put up, what's this? I paid X amount of dollars, and now it's like a grayish dull aluminum rather than the bright chrome. I don't know. It's ink. It's gonna be affected. It's probably gonna have a time elapsed on the product itself. Like I said, my opinion as usual. Okay, let's see. Oh, young man says my airbrush isn't working, and my buddy Wayne Knight, who has a nice Facebook page, it's Model Car How To's. He puts up, you got schmutz in it. Now, that's a polite word for the S word that I would use, but listen, airbrushing, you shoot your bodies, do whatever, make sure that you clean it thoroughly. Now what I do is, after every color and everything, I run at least an ounce of lacquer thinner through my brushes until it runs clean. Make sure you clean the cap. That prevents the schmutz. Okay, had a guy bring this up, and I'll save this one for last. Next one up, 56 Delray. Okay, so what we have here is the two 56 Delray bodies. Now, if you look up here, you will see these are original releases. One of them is an original release. Okay? Now, you can see the difference in the plastic right here, right now. Now, granted, this body has been prepped. Okay? However, you can still see the difference in the plastic. Okay? And the complaint is on the passenger side, it's not exactly the way it should be. Okay? It's not as crisp as, we'll do the comparison there. Okay? And then, now, on this one, you got a little bit of a halo here. You're going to have to fine sand that. It's just the nature of the beast, kids. Like I've said in previous videos, I'm not exactly in love with this new plastic, but it is what it is. And what we went back to, what was it, 2 Fridays ago when we were talking about prep and everything else like that. You got to be cognizant of the fact. You have to examine these carefully when you're doing this. Good catch on it. Actually, you know, I had not gone over this yet. So you helped me out. Now I'm helping you out. A little bit of fine sanding and you'll flatten this out and it'll be fine. Okay. All right. Young man asked, what do I use to strip paint? Okay. First off, this goes back to something that I said in a video a while back. Anytime you post a question to a Facebook page, you want other modelers to help you out, be specific. Okay, I want to strip paint off my model. Better yet, I painted my model with enamel. What do I use to strip it with? Alright, that's better. When it comes to enamel, okay, I use either DOT3 brake fluid, Tupperware container, fill it up, throw it in, put the lid on it, let it sit for 24 hours. Generally speaking, and if you look on my Facebook page, somewhere in there, there's a photo of a 1964 Thunderbolt, and it was brand new brake fluid, and within 3 hours it looked like the paint job, or what was the paint job, is exploding off the car. It will take it all off. Then you take your toothbrush, you scrub the living hell out of it, get it all off, take it, run it under warm running water, Dawn dish detergent, scrub it again. That's for enamel. You can also, for the DOT3 brake fluid, you can also use Wesley's bleach white. Now, I found that out by accident because I just threw wood in there to clean it and forgot about it. An hour later I went back and all the paint was gone. So we find something else that works. Now, for hobby lacquers, you can use the two aforementioned for stripping. For the automotive, I use 91% isopropyl alcohol. That's as far as I go with the stripping. Okay, those three. There are that will say, what is it, Purple Power and Castrol Super Clean. Now, my experience with those, with the newer plastic, is it makes it brittle. Just as an experiment, I bought some of the Purple Power, threw one of the new Revell 67 Camaros in there to strip it. A couple hours later, reached in, and yeah, it stripped it, but when I touched the body to pick it up, it popped both of the windshield supports going on down onto the doors. So, like I said, DOT3 brake fluid, Wesley's bleach white, and or the isopropyl alcohol. And anything else with the new plastic, it's a scary proposition, and I try to stay away from it. So let's see what else. Oh, scribers for panel lines. Yes, you can use them. They have a tendency to widen the gap, like I indicated and showed in a previous video. I prefer using the knife blade because it's thin. Should there be something else where, like I indicated, where you got a double line in there, that's when I use the dental picks. As I said, you can pick them up at Micromark. They're stainless steel. They'll last forever. And another thing too, your scissors and your yeah, come on, Don, tweezers. Don't go cheap. Jake was in hysterics the other day because I had him helping me. I went out and spent $57 on a pair of surgical scissors at Joann Fabric to cut the squares of flannel that I use, and just like zip, zip. You know, the quality of the tools is always going to be a factor. Makes life easier, makes the job easier. Can you use one of the panel scribers? Yes, but you have to be careful of the width of the door panel that you're working on. All right. Let's see here. Oh, young man said crystal effects. Where can I find it? To replace it, I got liquid glass. Now, you can also, for the crystal effects, if I remember correctly, ScalePro.com, which is Art Lasky Jr.'s business, I believe he carries it, but he also carries this liquid glass. Now, if I remember correctly, I bought this at Joann Fabrics, and it's a good, you know, it's a good replacement. I use this for making my gauge faces and everything else like that. A little dollop, and it's self-leveling, and it gives a nice little bevel for your gauge faces, and it can also be used to put glass in with too. Alright, let's see here. Yes. Now, I talked about this a lot in the airbrush DVD. Young man private messaged me. He said, look, hey Pops, I'm really struggling here with my paintwork. All I get is dirt in my paint. It's your paint environment. The very singular most important point when it comes to laying down a smooth paint job is making sure that your paint environment is as clean as it can possibly be. And we cover it in the DVD, but if you're painting on a concrete floor, make sure it's swept up. Don't do it and then paint. Let it settle. Let it sit for a half hour. You can dampen the floor. For when you're painting, if you're painting in your apartment, you got carpet, every time you take a step, you put fibers up in the air. And all you'd have to do is put a strong light, walk across the room a couple times, the next thing you know, blah, blah, blah. Lay a piece of cardboard down. It's the only thing I can suggest. I'm blessed. I've got a big concrete room that I just keep it at, 68 to 72 degrees, and I can paint to my little heart's content. Do I have to keep it clean? Yeah. Right now, is it clean as it should be? No. But you got to make sure your rafters and everything else like that in your paint area, your ceiling, your walls, you got to make sure that it's pretty clean. On occasion, I will take the shop vac, I will vacuum the walls, I will vacuum the ceiling, the floor I keep swept up, etc. Got to control the paint environment. One of my very good friends complained about the same thing. Here I find out, he said, I don't know what the hell and where the hell all this dust is coming from. Well, here what he was doing, he was taking paper towel and he was laying it in his booth. And if you ever take if I were to take a paper towel roll right now and pop a piece from the roll, you'd see floating through. It's got fibers in it, and it's going to get up in. Now, I suggested to him, dampen it, lay it down if you have to. A lot of these guys, they want to build, cheap booths out of plastic. Plastic creates an electrostatic charge. You've heard me say it 1,000,001 times. Best thing to do is go to your local tin knocker's place that builds ductwork. They can build you a square, and then you can drill it out, put your fan in and everything else like that. This way you can wipe the metal down periodically with a rag soaked with lacquer thinner. Okay, that keeps it clean. Once again, cleanliness is next to godliness when it comes to taking care of your paint environment. Alright, killed that. Okay, someone asked what type of dehydrator I use. I've got this monstrosity which only gets fired up when I've got the miscreants in the shop and we're painting a bunch of bodies. We can put probably 16 bodies in there. Very rarely, if ever, do I use it. My go-to is the Nesco American Harvester. Now, Bed Bath & Beyond, from what I understand, locally is going out of business. You could probably get one on sale. I got mine on sale. I think I paid $100 for it. And you cut the trays out, and you know, you got a room, what, Jake? 8 bodies with, you know, the hoods, balances, spoilers, etc. You can actually fit just about 8 bodies in there without a problem. 4 on the bottom, 4 on the top. Okay. White walls. Young man asked, what do I use to make the white walls with? Okay, you're going to have to use acrylic paint. Okay, because enamel and lacquer, well, enamel will never dry on it. And lacquer, you stand a better and even chance that it's going to eat into the rubber tire. Now, they do, and I cannot remember because it's been so long, but if you get up on the internet and check, if I remember correctly, one of the companies sells a stencil. It's like a photo etch material, but you can position it, lay it on the tire, shoot the acrylic, let it dry, pull it, and then take some lacquer thinner, because it's metal, and you can just wipe off the excess acrylic and just let the tire sit. Now, there are companies that do make decals for it. There's plenty of companies right now, actually, case in point. Revell's 55, 56, 57, their Tri-5 series, they all have white walls in it sometimes, and more often than not. Check over with Jim Pordini at Partsorama. I think he has 6 now, 6 or 7 Facebook pages. You know, you can pick up white wall tires there also. Alright, another thing that was brought up, question was about, do I clear over decals? I do not. I do not. Unless a customer requests it, if they're doing a slot car body, they want me to do a slot car body for them, okay, I will do it. Reason being, and in this case, the poster said that if the decals are too thick. Now, back in the day when Fred Cady had his decal business, they were excellent decals. They were made on a little bit of a thicker paper. If you clip them close enough, varnish them down tight enough, they will go onto your clear without a problem. And they pretty much, you know, they do have a little bit of a thickness to them. However, period correct, if you remember, then this is for the guys my age, maybe a little bit younger. Back in the day, there were not wraps. They were like peel and stick decals and or sign painters that would literally paint Grumpy's Toy, Socks and Martin. I mean, these guys were artists beyond belief with what they used to do, and it was all hand painted. Therefore, it did have a thickness to it. Nowadays, you know, a lot of guys, they'll, you know, their cars are airbrushed in. You know, it's like everything else. Everything gathers and progresses, and it's new improved. My suggestion is, if you are going to shoot over top, if you are going to lay your decals, shoot a couple coats of clear on first. This gives you a nice smooth surface to work on. Apply your decals. Then you take it out into the shop, blow off where you were smoothing with a piece of flannel cloth, as you should, and we've got a video on it. There's like 45,000 views of it. You smooth that decal down. You make sure everything's copacetic with that cloth. Now, naturally, you might have a little bit of fiber or whatever. So then what you do, you go back in, you air blow it off, okay? Make sure everything's copacetic, go over it real fine, real close, check it all out, put it on your stand, and then you clear over top of it. Light mist coats. Some of these, you don't have to worry about the enamels. They're not going to attack the decals. You don't even have to really worry about wet look lacquer. But anytime that you're laying, make sure, number one, you test drive it. Lay one of those decals on a spoon if you're using you know, like a hotter you know, product, because if you lay it on too thick, too heavy, it's going to eat your decals. Now, I put up on Reddit the 56 Delray that I just got done as a gasser, and a young man asked how I get my finishes so smooth. Simply explained to him. He asked what grit. I said 3200 to 12,000. And sure enough, a lower appendage immediately posted, "That's overkill, that's ridiculous, and you shouldn't have, you don't have to do that. You only have to sand it with 400, 600. Really. And then your paint's going to fill in the scratch marks." It's not. You can lay paint down until it's covered, but by that time you'll lose all detail. This goes within beauties in the eyes of the beholder. Any type of modeling has plateaus. And for me, whatever winds your watch, that's fine. If you're an individual that reaches in the box, pulls it out in the white plastic, and you build the whole kit like this without laying paint on it, that's fine. It's your model. Do as you wish. If you take it out and you just put it on a pipe stand or a paint stand, just lay whatever paint over top of it, you're happy with it, that's fine. These are plateaus. When people want to take a step up, let them take a step up. If people ask a question of an individual and they give an answer and it's a legitimate, truthful answer, leave it be. Too often, these maroons want to drag people down to their level and they beat them with experience. Maroons. Stay in your own lane. And for as many, and believe me, I thank you all for the kind comments. I mean, things have really jumped in the last 2 weeks, and I'm happy to see that. I'm happy that people are coming back in. One guy just sent me yesterday, yeah, he commented on a video. He said, "You have put a fire under my ass." He said, "I want to build again." He said, "I'm 55. He said, "I can't wait to see what's coming down the pipe with your channel." That is what it's all about. The few comments from the lower appendages, I'm just going to go like this or go like this, because as I've said to you before, this channel is all about an education. Okay? That's why the DVDs exist. That's why these Fundamental Fridays exist. Because of the people that want to take the step up. I don't care what you do with your models. And as I've said before, this channel isn't for everybody. We're just going to go like this. And hopefully it helps. Because ultimately, do I want you to paint as well as I do? Nope. Build, detail, weather as well as I do? No. I want y'all to be better. You see, that's why the DVDs and Fundamental Fridays and the other things that are going to be coming down the pipe, that's why they exist. Because I'm the dumbass that made all the mistakes back in the day. And you guys are going to profit from that. Because you're not going to spend the kind of money, get frustrated, etc., etc. Because back in the day when my buddies and I were out on my buddy's porch building while it's teeming down rain, we're all hanging out together. Everybody built models back then. But we had to learn by trial and error. And in the video age, the DVD age, actually the book age, because back in the day, occasionally there'd be a, like in one of the car magazines, Carcraft or Popular Hot Rodding, there might be a little article. But back in, even in Scale Auto Enthusiast, in its infancy back in the 80s, all the pictures were black and white. So this is a really great time for modeling. And I'm so happy to see a lot of these guys coming back into it. And I want them to stay. Now, that brings up the point that I went on. And it's builder harassment. Young man, we're all young. He said, I almost quit building. I put my pictures up and people would be rude, crude, and socially unacceptable. My advice to him was, don't pay any attention to it. This isn't the only channel on the planet where you're going to learn. Well aware of that. There's others. Just bounce around. Find somebody, find someone, find something that it piques your interest. Another point that was brought up was, how do you get around builder's block? Well, everybody suffers from it. Everybody suffers from it. There's times I walk in his shop and I'm like, ugh. The way I get around it, find something that you love to do about the hobby. Okay? I'm stuck. Alright, well, you're building one car. Okay? You're stuck. And you keep looking at it and you're like, ugh. Build a couple at the same time. Have a box stock going. Box stock's a very tough class. And it's also the largest class when you go to these shows. Have a box stock sitting there. And you might have a build that you've got $300 or $400 in fittings and everything else like that, and it's got you stymied. Alright, so you got that. And then you got a street machine of, say, your dad's old race car. Pick one of those three. What's easiest to work on? I don't care if you sit down, put your feet up on the on the table, and sand tires. You might have a couple bodies laying around. You love to apply decals. Well, decal up the bodies. That's the best way to get around all this. And just get yourself away from it, because no matter what you do, you're going to find something to keep it busy. The blonde's saying goodbye. She's going out with the girls. Bye, sweetheart.
Bye.
Have a good time. Be careful. I love you.
I love you too.
See? No editing. Look, all I want you to do is enjoy this hobby. I don't care where you're at, okay? And the bottom line is, anybody's welcome here. Just behave yourselves. If you don't, you know what's going to happen. I don't have the time or the inclination to put up with it. So, I'm not saying the Q&A is going to exist all the time, but there were so many points, and I figured I want you to know that I'm paying attention. Am I going to get to everyone? Am I going to drop the ball on some? Halfheimers, remember? But we're doing the best that we can do. And if there's other ideas, hey, we're always open to it. But there's bigger and better things coming down the pipe. And I want you all to hang around. I want you to have a good time with it. I want you to enjoy it. And if it's not your cup of tea, now take a glance and take a walk. It's all about having fun. Like I said, there's plateaus. And if somebody's willing to go and continue to work, we'll help you along the way. And don't pay attention to the naysayers. Have fun with what you're doing. Alright, enough of this. I BS'd enough. Hope I answered all the questions. And there'll probably be another one of these coming down the pike. I'll see you on Friday. It's the old man from Lomo Custom Painting, along with Jake the videographer. And we'll see you on Friday. God bless. Take care.